Hey. Hey, us is here.
Us is here.
Yeah,
Us is
us
here.
is here.
It's so good to talk to you and to see your beautiful
Well,
face.
thank you. It's beautiful to see your beautiful face too. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
What's the
Thank
weather like where you are
girl.
today?
Today it was in the 60s, like high 60s. It's 57 degrees now, but it was it was like a little cool. Zania, it was cool over here.
Hmm.
I know y'all be saying y'all live in California, but it's cool.
Okay.
Like 60s, high
Yeah.
60s, chilly, you know.
It was in the 50s here today, but breezy. So it was chilly.
Mm.
The sun was out, but it was chilly because of the fucking breeze. I'm sick of the breeze. It's been
Yeah,
it's been windy. It's been windy.
yeah,
Enough of the wind. You know what? I'm rushing spring. I'm rushing it because we just over the winter. Seriously.
yeah. It's you know what and this is really the reason we left. I feel like the weather was a big part of the reason, but it's just the winters. It brings you down. The weather, you just be mad, just be
I,
angry.
I'm so over it. I'm so over it. Like for life. I'm over it.
Yes, yes.
It's
Well,
just
I can't wait until
we
wait.
come.
Yes, we try and get y'all out here.
Oh my God.
Oh my god.
One day.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's listen, the way things have been going and the way things are moving, who knows where we'll be in a few months, in another year. Like who
Yes.
knows?
Yes.
Yeah.
We
Yes.
about to enter a new journey.
This journey has been journeying. I will say that.
Yeah.
It has been journeying. And I'm like, I think I am just in awe of it still.
Hmm.
Like how quickly it all happens because I can just remember us having conversations last year and I was like, yo,
Yeah.
we got to start a company, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was online today looking at the Federal Trade Commission
Mm-hmm.
website, reading
Mm-hmm.
all the suggestions and rules about trademarking your brand and all the things. They've got different types of trademarks:
Yes.
trademark for services, trademark for goods,
Yeah.
trademark for, um, well, that's copyright. So, copyright, that's a different
Mm-hmm.
division, but they talked about that too. So,
Yeah.
you don't have to trademark your brand,
Right.
right? You don't have to trademark your brand, but it's better to trademark it to protect it
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, from other people using that name for the same or similar goods,
Right.
right?
Right.
So, and it costs.
Mm-hmm.
It's like $325,
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that, to trademark. And then it takes 12 to 18 months
Yes.
for a decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
It's a
was,
long. Mm.
yeah, that's a long time. So I was wondering if while the application is processing, if you can claim that it's trademarked. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? 12 to 18 months is a long time to wait.
Yeah.
And like you
Yeah.
ready to rock and roll now with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
No, but when you file for the application, like the date, even if there are other organizations that have similar names and they're under the same classification,
Yeah.
the trademark date, the date of your application is recorded. Like all of that stuff is like it's tracked, So
I'm ready to file tonight. I'm like, let me just do it. But no.
yes.
I'm like 12 to 18 months.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, like you can't put the little symbol at the end of the name, but I think you can still just use it and hope and pray that nobody steals your shit.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Right,
Yep,
right, right.
yeah, yeah.
So it has been, a time. It's been a
Yeah.
time as we journey over on into the spring,
Hmm.
this new
Hmm.
season that's coming.
Yes.
The new season is here.
It's here. It's really here.
Us is here
And
and it is here. How about that?
else is here and it is here. I think the most for me, it's like really, really living in these journeys though out loud
Mm,
in a way where people do not think you're just a unicorn. I think I'm such a process person that I'm more interested in the people's journeys from point A to point B. Like
mm,
when remember back in the day we used to watch like the making of the band or the
yeah,
making of the movies, the making of the videos, like
yeah,
behind the scenes. That's my favorite part.
yeah.
Like, how did y'all create this? What was y'all talking about on the
Mm,
back ends?
mm-hmm.
Like this part is much more fascinating to me because
Yeah.
this shit happens so fast. Like all of this, like the book, the
Your
it,
anniversary date is today.
yes, yes,
Now,
yes.
let's talk about that. So today is the anniversary of when you received your doctorate degree.
When I defended my dissertation.
Okay.
So it's my dissertation defense anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
March 2019 was my defense date. And that's the day I officially became, my committee approved my dissertation. So I had to, it's just the graduation was that later in May, but yeah, that was the day I got to defend my oral presentation, talking about my research, talking about my research questions, talked about my methods and my data and my results and the findings and all of the work that I would want to do, following my defense. And it's dope though because since then I've been doing a lot of research, doing a lot of writing, but I didn't have a traditional trajectory. Most
Mm-hmm.
people who pursue a PhD, they go and teach and become faculty in the institution. But that was not my pathway.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I've always loved research, and so like it's full circle for me, cousin. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
being able to do this kind of research and me search that centers
Mm.
my mother and
Mm.
my lived stories and my lived experiences. Like I went to school as long as I did so that I could bring something back that's actually helpful for our community and families and children, in
Mm-hmm.
education and outside of education. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so I do feel today I was thinking about like, wow, it's been 6 years. And because I'm not a traditional academic, it's I almost feel like it's a late start for me. Because we had the babies, like Jordan and Ava were 1 and 2 when I defended.
Yeah,
Like,
I remember. I'm like, wow, she's doing a lot. That had to have been tough. So, it's interesting how you said watching the behind the scenes of a movie was your favorite part. And then you said throughout this journey, right, this 6 year journey from the day that you defended your dissertation to now, right, there was research and then me search, which I love that term, the me search, right? So
yeah, yeah.
what have you learned? So behind the scenes of your life, what
Mm,
have you learned about you? What have you learned? What has changed? And what would you like to do moving forward?
Sania.
Yeah.
So, all right, what have I learned about myself?
Yeah.
Ooh, I learned that I can work for no one else.
Mm.
I learned that just in terms of like career pivot, I am a scholar. I'm a methodologist. I'm a researcher. I should be paid doing this work.
Mm,
Um, I one of the things that I really, really was able to do, Zania, is hone in on my voice.
mm,
Um, the same way that I show up in real life, I wasn't really showing up that way in my research all the time.
mm,
Um, and so, what I mean by that is really um, I've always known that I've had like a powerful voice, but I also felt like I wasn't smart enough. Like, I also felt like, but this is the whole high achievement as a trauma response thing, right? So even after I defended my dissertation, I won. I was one of the recipients of the dissertation of the year award at my graduation. It was two Black women. My other colleague, her name is Dr. Chandrika Burrell, and two Black women won these awards for our research. And I had the audacity to still feel like I wasn't qualified enough, I wasn't good enough.
mm-hmm,
Um, but all of that, had a lot to do with just that trauma, right? So working through this research and me search, like
mm,
really, really digging into the deepest parts of myself,
right.
facing myself. I'm out here calling myself a Black feminist researcher. What? And you're not even defending the women who need you the most? What? Fuck out of here, yo. Like, I was so fraudulent to me
Mm,
because I knew that I was running away from this story. And I won't even say running away. I actually tried to tell this story many times. Like, I can remember being in my 20s when
what story?
we used to go to the poetry spots and stuff. Like, I would want to write poetry about my mom
About your
and
mom. Okay.
yeah.
Mm-hmm,
And I couldn't, like, I don't know. There was always a barrier energetically. I could feel it. Like, if I was like trying to write and put language around my childhood, I always stopped because I didn't like the way it felt to write something about her that would paint her as a villain. So that protection, right? Like, we talk
right.
about that protection. I was protecting her. And I didn't care how I felt about what happened. I wasn't going to write about my mom in a certain way. So, but there was this urge to talk about it and not knowing how to talk about it. It was a block.
Mm-hmm.
So I just didn't. But
So you froze.
one of the things, I felt it in my soul that
Mm,
I was supposed to talk about this at some point. So, I love, I've been able to collaborate with some incredible people. I've been able to teach. I've been able to present at national conferences. I've been able to learn their frameworks. I've been able to master their techniques and their methodologies for research design and all that. And now, um, there was nothing else more urgent than me than to do this work, and it was Jordan who was like, "Who's your mom? Mom?" Remember that time I told you Pat slapped me in the face one time?
yeah.
And when Jordan asked me that during COVID, it felt like that slap. It was like let's go, do your work, you know. So I feel I'm so grateful to be able to have done this work. I mean, it's not unlike me to do the kind of research that I did for me. I do that kind of research for other people. Um, I've always been a little. I've just always been very direct, and using language that really articulates and captures the lived experience of oppressed individuals, right? And so, um, I finally was able to do it for myself and
Mm,
advocate for myself and put language around my mother's truth. And so that felt amazing. So it feels amazing 6 years later because I feel like, I am an instrument as a scientist and
mm,
I should be able to talk about the worst parts of myself.
mm,
Um, and I should be able to dissect my experiences to a molecular level and study that thing down to understand it, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've mastered myself. And I feel like because of that, I can see others' patterns, and I can provide recommendations on what helped me
Mm-hmm. So
navigate. Yeah.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
So I have a cousin question. This
Yes.
is a deep question.
I'm ready,
You
Zamir. We
sure?
be deep. I'm sure.
Okay. So there was a time when you may have been pregnant with Ava.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, why don't you name her Tremaine?
Mm.
And the death look, right, that you gave me, I was like, oh, never mind. When I suggested that you name your daughter after your mom was one that I will never forget, right?
Mm.
So, in knowing that you've done the work,
Mm.
what shift happened to you and for you from the time that you killed me with your look to the point I was scared. Like, oh shit, she gonna kick me out. She gonna hate me forever for suggesting this shit.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember you asking me that and Auntie asking me that. And that's actually still, I feel horrible about my
Okay.
response.
But your response was your response, and you had every right to feel the way you did. And I, as your cousin, like as your first cousin,
Mm.
right? I know your mom. I knew your mom. I grew up with your mom. So when I suggested it, I'm living through the relationship I had with your mom, right? In the way that I saw her. So when I
Yeah.
suggested it, I thought it was an honor to name your daughter after your mother, but as your cousin, and who your first cousin, and we grew up together, and I saw the things. I understood also why you wouldn't want to name your baby after your mother, and why you gave me the look you gave me when I suggested that you name her Tremaine. So the question is, what happened? What once Jordan asked you the question, Mommy,
Yeah.
who's your mommy?
Mm-hmm.
Now Ava's here. She's what, 4 years old at that point? Something like that?
Ava was two.
Two.
Ava was
So
two.
two
Yeah.
years and some change have gone by from the time that I suggested the name to the
Yeah.
point that you had that clarification.
Mm-hmm.
What was the shift for you? That what happened to you that made you see your mother in a different way, to help
Yeah.
you to receive her the way that you have, and the way that you talk about her in your book?
Mhm. Absolutely. The answer to that question, I have to go back. I have to put language around the death look, because
Okay.
we have to unpack that look, right? Like that look, like you said, after you realize, oh wait, I understand why you wouldn't, but you probably didn't know or assume. You probably thought I was going to receive it at the honor that it is, right? If you suggested that to me, you probably didn't think she wouldn't react any other way, but that's a very important part of it. And I
Mm-hmm.
think what was my reality is that I didn't have a space necessarily to talk about my mom for real, like how I for real felt about what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And this is no detriment to our family or anything. It's really just I was taught that we protect our family. If anyone asks you questions about your mother, tell them to mind their fucking business. Aunt Patricia told me this as a child.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she's just sick. She's still your mother.
Mhm.
So there was no question that I needed to be respectful and that I needed to follow suit and fall in line and just know that my mom was sick. So that was it. I was told how to feel, you
Okay.
know.
Right.
And so, however,
Mhm.
when you and I kind of talked about, the feeling like there is feelings of neglect and feelings of rejection and feelings of resentment and all those things, but I also had enough capacity to understand that I needed to bury these feelings away. There was no way I was going to tell grandma. How could I? I just couldn't. I just couldn't. I would never talk negative about my mother to anyone in our family. So people didn't necessarily ask me how I felt about things, and I was not volunteering that information. I did not talk about her. So I didn't process it. So we talk about energy, that those emotions were so suppressed and buried. So when you asked me about naming my daughter after my mother, it was a trigger. So now all of this stuff that's been dormant and buried is fizzling, is coming up to the top,
Mhm.
and it's not cute. And so there's stuff here that I have to deal with. And I remember because it happened with you and it happened with Auntie when she asked me, and I'm sure I gave the same look or said something, and I'm like, in retrospect, I'm like, wow, that was pretty. She probably felt away. This is her sister.
Right.
And she's just being an incredible aunt to her niece. But I could feel that this is energy that I have not dealt with, and I don't want to feel like this, but I don't want to look at it either. I'm just going to brush it back down under the rug. I
You
don't know
keep
how to
it
talk
swallowed.
about it.
Mhm.
I knew I needed to eventually talk to someone, but it was that whole like going to therapy, that whole going to therapy. That is white shit. That's European shit culturally, you know. And so I experienced that. Yes, eventually I came around and I realized that I need to actually take action and not be a victim anymore. But this is real. And when we talk about institutions and medicine and practices and how our information is used, we don't trust systems and institutions because of our histories, right? These are lived experiences. And so I had a lot of speculation about talking to someone about my business, whether they were licensed or not. And I wanted the person to be right. And so um, I want to just put language around that. Look, cousin,
Mhm.
like you said, you remember my mom in a very different way and had a different connection with her, and I lived a very different perspective in the neighborhood and
Yeah.
what I experienced that I never had an outlet for. Um, so to your question,
Mhm.
what changed? It was that I just did not like what this was doing to me.
Mhm.
Um, because I always looked at pictures of my mom, but I was doing it in private. I
Mhm.
I love pictures, and we keep a lot of pictures up for the kids, and we have a lot of family photos up. And for my daughter to not know who her grandmother was, Zania, I guess everyone has a threshold. Everyone has that thing or that moment, that light bulb, that everyone has their own barometer for what triggers them to act. And baby, when I tell you that was the smack in the face that I needed because it was such an infraction. It was such an infraction. I had committed a cardinal universal sin in my eyes. And I'm Miss Social Justice. I'm Miss Equity this. I'm Miss Advocating for this. I'm Miss this. And And I'm like, I'm failing. This is a problem, you know? And so I needed to be better for my daughter. I needed to be better for her. I needed to be better for Ava. I needed to be better for me because I mentally, mental health, I was having mommy issues for a very long time. And I needed I needed to release all of that stuff. And so I went back to my notebook. I went back to, what I knew. I love writing. Everything, my creative expression comes out through my writing. And I was like, how do I do this? How do I write about her? So it was the desire to heal. It was the desire to face this part of myself that I've been running from.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm incentivized by my daughter because Jordan and Ava should never need to go outside of me for those kinds of questions and answers. And I needed to make sure they knew who their grandmother was. And I wanted to tell it from her truth, not mine, because I knew that researching this moment in time was going to be very traumatic for me. And it was. It was. I know when I was on that word interview and Dr. Peterson he pointed out one of the favorite lines in his book, like, I can remember being so, like just crying, like just reading articles, looking at the pictures of the families, these anthropologists going into these neighborhoods and documenting what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And, mm, just the recordings I watched, it was like, what the fuck happened here?
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't even, you think about the 80s and 90s, it's so recent, so we don't think about it as history, even though it is. We don't read about this in history books yet.
Mm-hmm. So what the fuck did happen?
Girl.
And so when you explain that, right?
Yeah.
Because you write about this in your book.
Hmm.
Was that the moment that you forgave your mom?
Oh my God. So the book writing happened after 3 years of therapy. So
Okay.
Jordan asked me that question in 2020. I published that book in 2024. So there was a lot of work that was being done in between, and I had forgiven my mother during my journey with, I can't say her name, but the black woman psychologist who was incredible. What? She was so smart. And I was like a student in her, it was like class. Okay. I was taking notes.
Mm-hmm.
But I just could not wait to talk to her every week because, when she was breaking down chronic conditions and neurology and the functioning of the brain and the chemical um, impacts of narcotics, like she was breaking these things down for me in such a way that forced me to see my mother's truth. That's what dictated my forgiveness because now I understood her addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding her addiction made me see it. It wasn't writing creative poetry.
Mm-hmm.
It was the knowledge gap that I had. I was like, oh. So all this time I just needed to view my mother's life through the lens of this being a medical diagnosis
Mm-hmm.
this whole time. This whole time.
Right.
And that's what it is. However, because she's black, she was criminalized
Yeah.
for her drug use
Right.
and committed to Byberry Medical Asylum.
She was black in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, during that
Yes.
era. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Those
So
eras.
this was systemic.
Yeah.
This was systemic. This was systemic. you asked, so what did happen? So let's just talk about the data for a little bit. Where my book, Dr. Dorothy Roberts. She's a legal scholar. She's at the University of Pennsylvania. She's in Philly,
Mhm.
and we talk about like the medical inaccuracies. It's the way that the medical industry and the media really flipped a narrative, and so women were being criminalized and charged for exposing their children in utero to narcotics and trying to make the claim that they were the whole myth of the crack babies, all of these things. It's not true because the data shows that exposure to crack cocaine, not endorsing it, but just the data of it, exposure to crack cocaine was not as severe as alcohol. They just lied. They created a myth to really dictate societal depictions of what was going on.
Mhm.
Um, so they created a myth to justify the incrimination. They, created the myth to fuel mass incarceration. This whole thing is systemic. It's very systemic. And so when we call it chemical, those who are, recovered and are in their, recovery journey, people talk about this was chemical warfare. Where were these drugs coming from, right?
Right.
Where was all this shit coming from?
Mhm.
Chemical, biological warfare.
Mhm.
And it was happening during the 80s when all of these social service, all of these programs are being dismantled under the government. So now it's poverty. So when we talk about like the rates of children who were suffering from exposure to these narcotics, what's really true is that this was happening in disenfranchised neighborhoods and disenfranchised communities.
Mhm.
This was happening to the people who had the least levels of access.
Mhm.
So it's a structural conversation, and Black women are at the bottom of it. They caught hell
Mhm. And it was
because,
also a time, if I don't know, if I understand it correctly, where we understood mental health issues and mental health disorders completely different than we do now, right?
yeah,
And so a lot of people who had those co occurring disorders, right? Or co occurring issues with mental health and then substance abuse um, were completely dismissed, right? Not only were they criminalized, they were totally misunderstood
mm,
because we didn't understand the mental health issues like we do today,
right,
especially for Black men and women, right?
absolutely,
Who were coming into the hospitals and going into the prisons and showing signs of schizophrenia or bipolar disorder or attention deficit disorder. Um, and it not being seen that way or being treated in that way. So
absolutely,
she was smacked around,
yeah,
and we don't know which came first, right?
hmm. Well, this the narrative about her being slipped a Mickey, the timing of that seems to have been the catalyst that spiraled the downfall. Um, After she was slipped, something happened, and it was like that's it. That's when it started going downhill. Her addiction and being taken advantage of. Um, it. Yeah, yeah. But these are the experiences, and this is what millions of people experienced and millions of families experienced. And I think what's groundbreaking about the research and the work and even like creating language around it is that there is an intergenerational dialogue that has, because a lot of families don't talk about this. Like, we spent so much time talking about your aunt Tremaine over this last year. She's been coming to you in your dreams,
She
and
has been. I've never dreamt about her, and she's been gone for how long now? How long has it been?
oh, she died in 2011.
So I've never dreamt about her until now.
Wow.
Until now. So what I want to know, right? We talked about her. We talked about societal ills.
Mm.
Um, what about her children? What
Mm.
about the children of men and women who suffered in the same way?
Zania.
Right? So, I mean, we could go on forever.
Yeah.
What in your book? What's one of your favorite um, parts in the book that would
I had to show
from
it.
crack mother to wildflower? That
Yes.
that would kind of describe how you were feeling,
Mm.
right? As a young girl, the same girl that gave me that look,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, how would you describe what you were feeling when she came around
Mm.
to grandmom's house, or when you ran into her in
Mm.
the neighborhood, or what your friends were saying
Mm-hmm.
about her in your face?
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything, and I read that it's been a while, but is there
Yeah.
anything in the book that would describe what you were feeling?
Yes, there is. Um, I talked about, so I call them critical traumatic incidents in the
Mm,
book. But really, really, really taking these cases, these examples, very traumatic incidences, and like putting them under a microscope.
hmm
I like to talk about them as putting them in the palm of my hand, like making them really small so you can see it. Um, and it was one time she stole from me. And I think it's perfect because when you think about addiction, it's addictive behavior. And so theft, robberies, these are the major crimes, right? When it comes to addicts. And so it's common. It's common to see, think about the common depictions of crack addicts on TV. They're stealing from their loved ones, right?
Yeah, but
They're
you were a little girl. You ain't know nothing about that. You didn't understand that. So when she did it,
so so when she did it, I grew to understand that there was like she was like a child. There was this knowing that I developed that my mom was like a child. So when we saw people, when I saw her, when I saw my mother coming up the street or in the neighborhood, I was usually averting her. I was avoiding her.
hmm
So I had to develop a way of like just constantly scanning my perimeter. Like I don't want to be where she is because she's going to ask me for money and it's going to be very embarrassing. Um, so it did not feel good. But I developed a way, Ryan developed a way, kids like us developed a way where we absorb that shit. We do not wear that on our face. I was not crying when my mom came around. I was like, here she come. All
hmm
right. And so I felt like my entire life I've been just watching what other people are doing and how other people are observing what's happening. I always do that. I've always done that. And so people didn't like when my mother came around. I talk about like grandma's voice. Like her voice would do something different when my mother came around. And I just always recognized the intonation of her voice. It was just like heartbreak wrapped with I love you, so I'm
Mm.
going to give you whatever I can, but do not start no shit here today. Like, respect this house. It was like there was so many emotions packed up in this intonation of her voice.
Mm.
So I learned how to navigate her through others. I talk about avoiding her. I wrote about cutting through the graveyard. I mean, that sounds probably horrible, but this is the shit we was doing. Like,
That's
we was cutting through.
horrible. Ain't
People
no
was
way
cutting
I'm
through the
walking through no graveyard. Period.
people was cutting through the graveyard, even if they wasn't running from their mama. Like, just it was a shortcut. So in North Philly, we did different shit. We was cutting through the graveyard and climbing over gates because it was a shortcut. So I talked about when she stole from me, and I can remember, like, I talk about this, like, just grandma would always grown-ups would always manage when she could come in the house. Like, somebody would look at her and do an assessment at the door, right?
Mm.
Like, before she comes in the house. And I felt like grandma gave me permission to discern whether or not my mother could come in. She came in one day, and grandma was she was either hanging up clothes in the backyard or just upstairs. She was not visible. And my mom, Uncle Cassie, had gotten me these Looney Tune tapes, like Bugs Bunny, Porky Pig. He had got me these like Looney Tune cartoon tapes, me and Ryan. And they were sitting on top of the TV by the stairs. And my mother came in, and I thought she was clean enough. I thought, yeah, she can come in, and we can sit down and maybe get her some food. And I could just tell by her when she realized grandma wasn't there, I just knew she was about to do some fucked up shit. And she took those tapes. It was kind of like I had like walked, I think maybe I walked to the kitchen just to see if grandma, just to let her know. And when I turned around, she was out the door with the tapes, and she was running. And I was like, what do I do? What do I do? Like, I felt like it was my fault. I felt like I shouldn't have let her in. I should have known better. And I was not, Zania, I was in middle school.
Yeah, I was about to ask you how old you were.
This is in middle school. I think I wrote it in the book 10 to 12, 10, 11, 12, something like that. Um, and I can remember chasing my mother. And it was always on display, Zania. Well, I tell you, I always felt like my life, I feel like we all feel like this about our lives. Like, where is the fucking camera? It was always on display. And I felt like even though other people had family members who was out there, it was never as bad as like my mom. It was never as bad. So I chased her to the corner, and she was out. She was out. And I laughed about that in the book because I'm really like, yo,
I'm
she's
chasing
back.
my mom.
I'm chasing my fucking mother.
Mm.
And so I got to the corner of the block, and she was like, she had passed Douglas Street, and she turned around and was laughing. She was laughing.
Mm.
And I was standing on the corner just like,
Whew.
I was like, but this is, so you're asking me what I did and how I felt. I remember feeling like I fucking failed. I didn't defend the castle. I'm the failure here. So how do I go back and tell grandma that I let my mom in and she stole the tapes because I did something wrong? This is what my brain did to me.
Mm.
And I remember Miss Gloria sitting on the corner smoking a cigarette, and I didn't even. It's almost like
Mm.
I didn't see anybody around me. It was just me and
You
my
blacked
mom.
out, right?
Yeah. So when I finally started like walking back, Miss Glory was like, I know your mother didn't just steal from you, smoking her cigarette on the corner.
Mm,
And there were people on the block watching.
mm,
And I just walked back. She said, "You okay?" And I said, "No." And I remember walking back to the house, like, and so I'm sure I went home and just told grandma what happened. And she told, all of our aunts, uncles, your
mm-hmm.
mom, and people, we just, our family. Everyone said the thing that they were supposed to say. Everybody probably asked me how I felt. Then, am I okay? Don't worry about it. We'll replace the tapes. But it was this collective disappointment. It was like collective, like, and I knew people probably felt like she stole from her fucking daughter, like Yanni. So Zania, I just kept my mouth shut. I just kept my mouth shut. I absorbed all of that.
Mm-hmm.
It made me, I did feel at that age, I still felt, how we would talk about my mom's laugh.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
I love her laugh now, but
Mm,
when I would say I hated her laugh, it was because I didn't understand her laugh. I didn't understand it. I thought she was laughing at me, and that was never her truth, right? She had this nervous laugh, and I almost knew intuitively that her laugh was in replacement of like words. Her laugh was in replacement of all the things that she couldn't say. And her laugh always turned
mm,
into a cry. So I felt like
mm,
under all the
mm.
the drug use, the overuse, the the manipulation of
Yeah.
her brain and her neurons, under all of that,
Being taken advantage of, being
yes, under all of
discarded.
that,
Yeah.
yes, she did not choose this. I mean, of course, there's an element of choice, right? But they did not know what this narcotic was.
Mm-hmm.
They did not know it. And it's deep though, like, because children are having these experiences all over the fucking country. Experiences like mine, right? And I've watched my mother engage in what I call nefarious activities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very I've been witness to my mother doing drugs in alleyways, and I write about maybe 4% of my lived experience with my mom. That's enough. A lot, there's so much that we could share, but a lot of it, and I there are moments that I didn't write about in the book, but moments. You remember when she came to? Do you remember that day in '96 in the summer, right? And she came down North Philly and was naked. You may not have been there. It was
Well, so there's a right age difference between us, right? We're 13 years apart. So you were experiencing some of this stuff. I wasn't around. I was away at school. However,
right,
if that happened in 96, that wasn't the first time that she
right.
was running in the street naked, because
That's
I
right.
remember um, being at grandmom's house. And like you said, we've talked before, and some of these things would happen early in the morning. And I don't
Yes.
know why I was there. I was always at grandmom's house, right? Especially I was always there on the weekends.
Yeah.
Um, I don't remember how old I was, but I do remember the chaos from the family. Like, I felt like my mother was there. So I don't know what day of the week this was, but she was outside naked. And your relationship with grandmama is different than my relationship because you lived with her. She
Yeah.
raised you full time, right?
Yeah. Mm.
But I mean, she was our grandmother, so I was around her enough to know um,
Mm.
that tone that you mentioned, that tone that you talk about, her facial expression, Pop Pop's too. Um, Pat would be angry, like pissed,
Yeah.
and my mom was more like embarrassed and frustrated. But all of that,
Mm.
all of that was going on at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, I remember.
Yeah.
I remember that. Um,
Zania, that's deep because, right, like
mm,
black, mm, release,
yep.
release
But you
it.
know what's even more bothersome is that as close as you and I were when you were growing up, and I didn't understand it like I understand it now,
Mm.
but I didn't see it. I didn't see your hurt because you were
Mm.
such a you were such a bubbly kid. You were all over the place. You know
Mm.
what I'm saying? Like you hid that shit very well. And that's that's bothersome
Yeah.
to know. And you know, when I read your book, I was shocked by some of the stuff I read because I was like, well, I didn't know about that. I didn't know. I didn't know about that. And to know that all that time leading up to the point where I'm saying you should name your daughter after your mother.
Mm.
I didn't know. Now what would I expect? I don't know. I think maybe I thought you would understand it the way that I understood it
Mm.
at that time. But again, there's a age difference here.
Yeah.
And so no, of course you didn't understand it at the time. So when I read the book, you talk about hiding under the table.
Mm.
Yanni, when I read that, I was, I was all over the fucking place. I was all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
I didn't realize it. I
Yeah.
didn't see it.
Yeah.
Totally missed it. So I understood it. I understand it a whole lot more now when that that look you gave me when
Mm.
I said you should name her Tremaine. Now, what I understood at that time was you don't miss what you didn't have. That was the extent of it,
Yeah.
somewhat for me. Like I understood, but more than anything else, it was well, you really don't miss what you didn't have, right? I understand that because of a relationship with my dad, right? I got
Mm.
that part. But the
Mm.
depth of your experiences and the depth of your pain, I totally missed it. I totally missed it. So when I read the book and I read, you know, your experiences, I was like shocked. I was like, wow.
Mm. Yeah. I remember you calling me or we were talking. We were on top of that. Where were we at, Zania? What's it called? We were on top of
The four,
rooftop
the
bar.
old Four Seasons Hotel. I don't know what they call it now on the Parkway.
Yeah. He was like, I didn't know. And so many people um have reached out to me and was like, I didn't know. And you know, I know. I know you didn't know. And I think people like me who don't talk about it, they know that other people don't know. And that's okay. That's okay. You wasn't supposed to know. And you didn't know because I didn't know that I could talk about it. I didn't know that nobody was talking about this to me. Nobody was explaining. Everybody was walking the chaos you talk about.
Yeah.
It's That's what we were dealing with. It was chaos.
Hmm.
And then there's silence. There's chaos and then there's silence.
So there's so much here.
There's so much here, isn't there? And and there's something that spirit is telling me to say, and I gotta say this part. Um, when I was pregnant with Jordan and Ava, so before there's a history here. There's a timeline. So my mother died in 2011, and we were there with her the 24 hours leading up to, I felt like, oh my God, finally. I was talking to Uncle Tyrone about this a few, like 2 weeks ago. We were on the phone. Like, he was just like, I was relieved when when my when my sister died. And I said, me too, Uncle. And we were laughing about it, like, because there is a fear of what morgue is going to contact me. You know, where are we going to identify my mother's body?
Yeah.
When is that going to happen? It was this looming. I always was like, and I had nightmares about it. I remember. I won't even give voice to this to the things that mm-mm. There are lots of
Mm.
her funeral and the way the support the I feel like I got so much support from just sisterhood and black women, and our family came together and gave my mother a beautiful um funeral service, and it was good, and I felt good about my mother at that point. I was like, finally she's at peace, and I thought that anything that I felt was gone, like it's over. That's relief. So I was relieved for a few years, and then my brother started talking to me about his childhood trauma. We're in our 30s now. And Ryan is spiraling in his own addictions. And he's talking to me about the things that are coming up for him with different psychiatrists and psychologists and counselors. And he's telling me about the molestation he endured when she was there and friends.
Wait. Okay. So what?
Yes, he remembers being, my mom would have him do things with people too. So this is why um he has a lot of experiences with my mom in the streets. Like, he has a lot of experience with her, things I don't know about. But yeah, it was his mom was also facilitating things that were happening. And this is common. It's a common behavior because exchanging sexual acts for crack cocaine was common. And mothers um, use their children, use their children um, to participate and facilitate these exchanges. There's a whole subculture of shit. I didn't write about. See, this is the stuff that would have to come out in Ryan's book, but there are books I talk about in my book, research done by Black women. And there's also research that's not done by Black women. I mean, for me, I just know that there's a gendered nuance to how to really give voice,
Mm.
to really understand that poverty and this illness and this addiction turned mothers into something crazy. But they were painted to be monsters instead of being painted to be, um,
Sick, ill.
yes, yes. So Ryan's story is layered. It's layered.
So there's so much here. Um, I didn't know all those details.
Mhm.
I didn't know if I wanted to know because that's hurtful.
So I gained more information about my mother years after she died. And I'm like, you never told me this. You never told me this. And this is when he's starting to tell me, how my mom taught him how to steal. She taught him how to steal tricycles in different neighborhoods. When they would go in different stores, she was telling him to steal, teaching her son to steal. He remembers us being in apartments with nobody, food, roaches all over the floor, empty cabinets, moldy food, pissy mattress on the floor. He remembers all this. I have no memory of this. He remembers my mom bringing people in the house. He thought one man was his dad. He was hoping. He said this. He was dressed up like Santa Claus. Ryan, he remembers so much,
Oh
Zania.
my God.
He remembers so much. So Ryan is spiraling. He's sharing this with me, and I have a newfound enemy, and it's my fucking mother. You understand the timeline? So of course, there's no outlet for this information. Ryan doesn't want anyone to know this information. I'm like, you know, trying to finish school. All of this is happening while I'm finishing my dissertation, got two babies.
Mm,
So
mm, 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 mm.
I and it just deteriorated from there. Like I couldn't with Ryan stuff, I really just couldn't be a passenger. I couldn't watch it happen. So, we did the best we could. It was so bad. It was just terrible. It was so terrible. So there was a lot of stress on Nate and I at the time, just for how we had to show up in our families and during the trial, like leading up to the trial, I was done. I think I was done because Ryan had I just couldn't. I
You
just
mean his
couldn't.
sentencing?
His sentencing, yeah, leading up to his sentencing.
Hmm.
And but it's like so much had happened in between those few years. But yeah, so when I was pregnant with the girls, my perspective on my mom had changed and it was worse. And I had no outlet because I'm like, she's dead and I'm still it got worse. Um so in fact, I guess the arc of this whole story is that my 4-year old could bring me from I didn't know it could get worse. And
So you're so you've written a book.
Yes.
and you share with us this story about your mom. You go into details about the science behind the addiction, all the educational research policy information is in this book so we can understand what was happening to her, what happened to her, and how it affected you and it affected your brother. And
Hmm.
that was your experience. So your goal in writing this story is to, one, paint your mom in a different picture in a way that you now understand her differently,
Yeah.
and also to help other people
Hmm.
who have and are going through the same or similar experiences, right?
Absolutely.
So, how, or any experience,
Yeah.
because it doesn't have to be addiction,
Yeah. It's
right?
it's any it's any experience. It's any experience.
Right.
And hmm hmm
So, how do we use the book
yeah.
to heal and to move forward? How do we use the journal to heal
Hmm.
and move forward? How did you do it? What did you do? So, yes, you had the therapy, you had this wonderful counselor, she taught you all the things, you were
Hmm.
able to understand it, but how did you practice it? How did you work it? And how would you suggest someone else, other people, do what you've done to get where you are and heal
Um,
and move forward and bring healing for their families?
Come on, full circle. You about to get me excited. This is the beauty. This is where the alchemy happens. This is where the power resides.
Hmm.
Um, and the goal in developing, I want to say when you said something earlier about like retelling my mother's story, and it's like it's retelling her truth. It's telling her truth for the first time. It's me knowing her truth. It's me knowing who she was. When I think about my mom, I think about her as having two lives. So I say some of us lost our mothers twice because she was lost when she was sipped her drink and someone slipped her some shit that she didn't know was in there. That's when she was lost the first time. The second time is when she transitioned. But I love, for me, what was happening, the healing was happening for me. I was writing, I was going to therapy, I was doing this research. And so the healing was happening for me. And I was at the point, I had gotten to the point where I was like, oh my God, like, I want to write my mother's freedom.
Hmm.
And so I knew that I needed to somehow quantify how the hell I got from here to here. Like, I just want to write my mother's freedom. I want to write her life into existence. I want to write about all the time she was missing, and I want to add her into the scene. I just want to add her into every scene in my life, right?
Hmm.
And I wanted to create a framework. A framework. I mean, in research, everything requires a framework. Everything's a methodical process. I just had to figure out how to create a ladder that would allow people to follow me through my healing journey. So I conceptualized a framework and I called it the Sankofa writing method. I called it Sankofa because Sankofa means to go back and fetch it. It's like my favorite, it's like my heartbeat. It's my goal, it's my North Star. I have a Sankofa tattoo on my foot that I've had. So it's always been something that it's a principle that I've always valued of knowing who I am, of like being connected with my ancestry and our knowledge systems, like my interest in history and my interest in culture. So that was just intuitive for me. But the methodology was really a conversation with Black women. I envision. those 5 steps. Remember to talk back, excavate trauma, destroy the myth, amplify the margin, go free wildflower. Like what? What? These are all steps in conversations with Black women. And so I use a lot of scholars, so bell hooks. I use a lot of poetry. I use a lot of Octavia Butler's work. I use a lot of different, I'm using the brilliance of Black women in their minds to create a way for me to heal myself. And so the steps basically it took me through first understanding that I need to talk about this, right? So reclaiming my voice. So this whole thing about talking back, growing up, little Black girls, well, your parents would say, don't talk back. Talking back is not something that you do,
Mm-hmm.
right? But Bell Hooks writes about talking back as a form of resistance, giving language to the oppressed, to put language around what's happening to them. And this was oppressive. This experience was oppressive, but we're so traumatized by it that we don't know how to talk about this shit. Like where do we start?
Right.
Like where do we even start?
Right.
Because there's a whole other culture of the crack era that we have not talked about. Hip hop was birthed in this moment. Like the gendered nuances of what was happening in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have a flood of economic stability in Black communities. Every Black man is hustling to take care of their family.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And so there's so many nuances. Who had to get suppressed to be elevated? When we think about dynamics, what was happening? There's so much happening in this moment. And we've talked about, I feel like modern day documentaries and discourse around this moment in time are talked about. People talk about this shit. But the babies that was born during this shit, y'all haven't heard from us. Because we don't know how to talk about it. We don't talk, mind your business. It was what it was. We cool.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to talk about. We don't need help.
Hmm.
Um, so I faked it until I made it,
Yeah.
and I developed a way of projecting, a different version of myself, and I feel like we all do that. But remembering to talk back, excavating trauma, really, really spending. I had to create. I call it risk mitigation plans. Like I had to schedule time when I was going to read certain things so that I could be prepared to like heal myself immediately. So going back in these moments, like picking these traumatic incidences, you're really going back with the intention to see it from a new perspective. Like you said, what was everyone else seeing in this moment? What was the chaos? How did everybody feel about this?
Right. There's so much there.
There's so much in that room, in that moment.
In that moment.
Where are you positioned? What does the floor feel like?
Yeah.
You know, Um, so you're really just you're spending intentional time in this space to recover data. You're not in there to relive it again. But I started from places that were very painful for me intentionally because I needed to I needed to dig in there.
Mm-hmm.
I needed to do that work. And I was writing through what I was seeing. I was like documenting it and also taking into consideration what I knew about her was that she was not making conscious decisions, right? So now it looks very different. This entire scene looks very different to me. Um, so I will talk about how I responded to it and I'm going to analyze that, but then I'm going to talk about what was actually true for her, right? Like there's two different ways of looking at this thing. There are many different ways,
Mm-hmm.
but, and then, amplifying the margin, destroying the myth, all of these myths about Black families being,
What do
you
you mean
know,
by amplifying the margin?
amplifying the margin. So in Black feminist scholarship and literature, when we think about like the theorizing of the location of Black women, so Black women, because we are Black, because of our gender, because of our race, because of our class, because of all of these that there are different identity, there are different identity markers that dictate how we exist and show up in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Black women have to show up with all these different identities, and we see everything because of our location. Um, so a lot of times we are talking about writing from the margin, like from margin to center, and really from shifting the lens of what we would call a marginal experience to the center. So shining a big light on what's actually happening in these communities. And so for me, it was, yes, it was terrible. The conditions were terrible. What my mother was experiencing was terrible. And there was a lot of joy. There was a lot of Black pride. There was a lot of like family celebrations, and there was lots of protection for her.
Mm-hmm.
So, what did it look like when my mother actually did come into the house and have a hot meal? What did it look like when we gave my mother a bath and we bathed her? What did it look like when my grandmother constantly took food over to the rehab where my mother was? What did it look like when my grandmother is like examining her child's body?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like bringing this is happening in our communities, but you never see these images, these beautiful depictions of caregiving. The caregiving is happening.
Mm-hmm.
People are stealing things, but the caregiving is happening.
The
Um,
love is still there.
Life is still there. People are opening up their home to take in kids.
Yeah.
People are, there's beauty happening in the margins.
Mm.
They would call us the margin. We were in the margins of society. There's beauty here. Shine a light on this beauty. We've talked about the ugly stuff too much. We already see. We don't need to see another Felicia ever again.
Mm.
We don't need to see that. We need to see other things. We need to see our truth. This is truth. Anjulia would sneak money in my bag and tell me to give it to grandma. She's taking care of her sister. Her sister got these kids, you know, like, so that's amplify the margin.
Mm.
Destroying the myth is destroying the myth
Mm-hmm.
using data,
Mm-hmm.
using science, using history, using facts, not using what the media propagated, not the propaganda, not the lies that fueled, not the medical inaccuracies, the publications that were just smear campaigns. It's insane.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the advertisements, this moment has to be studied. Like what they did, the ooh. So, and then the final step is I call it go free wildflower. Just be free wildflower. Just go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you are revived, you are resurrected.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let's create memories together. Let's create not even memories, let's create the future.
So in your story,
Yeah.
who's the wildflower?
In my story, my mother is the wildflower because she is the soul that I'm recovering. So I talk about
Hmm.
this method as being conceptualized as an ancestral tool to talk about someone who was a victim of something, someone who died.
Mm-hmm.
And it could also just be used as a way to reimagine our own lived experiences, our own lives.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's just, and I think that last step and that last piece is really up to the person to identify whatever mode works for them. It made sense for me to write stories about my mother in the same scenes that were traumatic. So I used the same scene, like her stealing from me and running outside of the house. I created a story about us playing hopscotch in front of grandma's house. I created a whole different story with the kids playing hopscotch with their grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
So now when I think about that moment, I'm thinking about the kids playing with her
Mm-hmm.
and playing hopscotch. I'm not thinking about them tapes ever again.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about building new neural pathways, for me, it was helpful to take that traumatic incident, dissect it, um, and create something new.
Mm-hmm.
Create something new that's more in alignment with her truth, right?
Mhm.
Um, Destroying the myth was also about like finding the truth, breaking it down, what was happening in her brain, but also like really speaking with people like family, you,
Mhm.
your mom, our uncles, her best friend,
Mhm.
talking about what she was like before. Who was she? I'm meeting her for the first time, y'all. Who was she? Who Tony?
Mhm.
I didn't know they called her Tony until I read her yearbook. Who is Tony? And I'm loving these stories, Ania. I'm learning about my mom, and I'm just like, I love her.
Mhm.
I'm just like her.
Mhm.
So the fight to get back to her,
Mhm.
I don't know. Sania, to be able to have this corpus for Jordan and Ava, if nobody read this book, it wouldn't matter. I wrote this book for my daughters. I wrote this book for Ryan. I wrote this book for me.
Yeah.
I needed to see all of this. I needed to see her brain.
Mhm.
Like, I needed to really understand the behaviors so that I could really heal. So that's what the book offers.
Mhm.
If people don't have a very, it doesn't, the experience is really, it's about using a framework that could potentially be used for other people. And so there's writing prompts after each chapter, there's meditations,
Mhm.
there's actual exercises for people to go engage in recovery work, ask 5 people, meet with 5 different people, um, and ask questions about your elders and their histories. Ask them what happened
Mhm.
while they're here. There's histories. We don't need to watch the news. We don't need to go in these history. We don't A lot of these histories are rewritten and written through lies and myths. They're not true.
Right.
We have to preserve our own histories and truths
Mhm.
and understand them. And so that's what the book offers. It offers us a way to put language around this ugly stuff. It's,
Yeah.
it's meant to make the ugly stuff feel just just write this shit out. Just write it out.
Mhm.
Write it out, burn it,
Mhm. So
release it.
when I read the book and I was working through the journal, right? I remember saying to you, what if you don't have someone to save? Or what if you don't have someone else's story to rewrite, right?
Then it's you.
Then
Then
it's
it's your
you.
story.
So
Yeah.
so the Sankofa writing method, that framework that you just described, those 5 steps, right? So when I said
Mhm.
who was the wildflower, the
Yeah.
wildflower,
Hmm.
um, because I see it as this and that.
Right.
So it's her and it's you. Because
Yes.
for all those years, you were taught it ain't nobody's business. Don't ask me about my mother. It's none of your business. When you chased her down the street and Miss Gloria said, "You are right," you said no. And then you moved on. I didn't hear you say you broke down and cried. You said that
Right.
you didn't cry. When you saw
Right.
her coming, you didn't cry. Your Aunt Pat told you, don't let nobody, you know what I'm saying? Like all of that, as you already mentioned, was suppressed. So
Yeah.
now you've gone through life.
Yeah.
You've learned about your brother's trauma that he didn't tell you about until you were in your 30s. Y'all were in
Hmm.
your 30s. And now you have a different perspective about
Hmm.
your mother. This is all your stuff.
That's all my
This is
stuff.
all your stuff. So
Yeah.
who are we going? So when you talk about the Sankofa writing, Sankofa means to
Yeah.
go back and fetch it. We're not just talking about that person that
Right.
inflicted the trauma. We're also talking about the traumatized. Because not
Yes.
everybody who reads this book is is going to have someone that they need to reimagine,
Right.
right? But it's them. They may have some, they will have some traumatic experiences to some degree.
Mhm.
And they were lost because of that and those experiences. So how do I recover me?
Yeah.
How do I recover myself? And so that framework that you just described, those
Mhm.
5 steps, where we get to the point where we go free wildflower,
Mhm.
it's about you. It's
Yes.
about
Yes.
me. It's about
Yes.
the individual who's reading the book as
Yes.
well. It's about
Yes.
the individual who needs to do the work on them as
Yes.
well. So
Yes.
it's when I read that and I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, oh, it's this and that.
Yes.
It's this
Yes.
and that. So I really do hope that in all your efforts to understand your mother,
Yeah.
that you have set yourself free, wildflower,
Yes.
for the sake of your own health, your
Mhm.
mental health, your physical health, spiritual health, and the health
Mhm.
and life of your children and your family. It's
Mhm.
this and that.
Yeah.
There's so much here. There's so much we still got to talk about.
Earlier, Nate was like, "Do you and Zania record your conversations?" And I was like, "We need to, because we cover so much. We cover so much every time." Zania, and I do feel, but it's still happening. And I think I remember writing. When I was writing this book, it was like a metamorphosis.
Hmm.
Hmm. It was like a metamorphosis was happening to me. I was transforming. And Nate was like, "What's happening?" But I remember I was like pushing this out of me. And it just kept, like, I needed it to be done. And I had it with the editor. And I was like, "Oh, I want to add another thing." Like, it just kept moving. It just kept moving. I was trying to catch it. Like, did I share enough? Because a part of me sounds crazy. This sounds crazy, but I know that there's so much science and research that hasn't been done from perspectives like mine that I'm excited about, and a part of me also feels like I'm still healing, right? Like, I'm still healing. So when you talked about all the years of the not crying, like being all of that being suppressed, I tell you, I've cried every day for the last 2 years. Like, every when I released so much in these last working up to this point. So I do feel healed. I do feel in control. I feel like I understand my beliefs very, very well. I don't allow myself to wallow in what was too long, because I had to learn how to give myself grace. A lot of my trauma was the negative talk. I demonstrated it when you asked me what happened when my mom stole the tapes. It was my fault. It was my fault. So when I would be in therapy, she would just, like, so much of our sessions was her trying to prevent me from talking about myself so negatively. I was my worst enemy. Like, I was toxic towards me.
Mm.
And it was me and me. This is what shadow work is. This is what this work is. It's you and you. It's you and you. And even like my hesitancy in saying I am the wildflower, that's what my name means. My mother named me. She named me. I'm so used to putting myself last and not putting myself first that I'm still kind of like, yeah, it is about me. It's about all of us. It's about me, though. It's about me. And I feel I didn't write. So I wrote about my mother and my children first. Like I wanted to create a story that had language around their interactions. And I talked about how I didn't give her voice with her and I yet because I wasn't ready yet. So I still have a lot of writing to do,
Hmm.
you know, um, that gives my mother and I the
Oh
space
my God.
to to appear on a page together. You know, what does that look like? I'm just trying to go backwards. I just want my daughters to know her and they know their grandma Tremaine now. My daughter will never not know who their grandmother was. Mm, ever.
Mm-hmm.
So I am healed. I feel like the worst part is over. My job is to tell other people how exciting this is. It's hard, but it's like how do I convince people to look at the worst parts of themselves, to do their shadow work? It's a test. It's one big test, and this is what the spiritual journey we're learning, right? It's like one big test. This is a ritual,
Mm-hmm.
a soul contract, or whatever it is. It's a this is it. This is the thing that we're supposed to conquer. The worst part, whatever we think is the scariest, it's the test. And the longer we wait to start it, it's prolonging us getting and tapping into the work we're here to do. People are waiting on us to heal. People
And
are waiting on us.
yeah, there's a lot there too. There's a
Yeah,
lot to be said about what you just said there too.
yeah,
People
yeah,
taking the step and having the courage to face that ugly stuff,
yeah.
that
And that's
wet,
hard.
muddy, ugly truth
Hmm.
about the experiences. It is hard. It is hard, but
Yeah.
um,
And we're starting it though. We're starting. I mean, Zania, who would have imagined that we would be living at a time such as this? Like, what are we even talking about? We are talking about curating spaces so that people can feel safe enough to be vulnerable, creating spaces for people to feel seen and validated without judgment, creating space for people to talk freely about the worst parts of themselves. Like, there is not real for no one exists who has not endured trauma. So to make visible what everyone has experienced is powerful.
hmm
Like this work is so powerful and it's to me it is the only thing that matters right now. We all need to heal from something and that's what we need to figure out. I'm all of my energy needs to go right there because nothing else matters to me than restoring ourselves and repairing our families, repairing the harm. This is fixable.
hmm
All of this is fixable. We just have to have the bravery and the courage to do it. And we do it together. Individually though. We don't, it's we turn our phones on do not disturb, turn the TV off, and it's us and us,
hmm
us and us. So
What
I
is it?
think the more we know,
Knowledge and understanding is power. Is that what
yes,
we learned? Hmm.
yeah, Professor Melanie taught us knowledge plus power equals understanding.
Or the other way around.
Yep.
Need
Understanding
power,
plus knowledge equals power.
right? It's all good. It's all good. Well, let me just say, because we've been on here for a while talking.
Yeah.
You in California and I'm on the East Coast.
Yeah, isn't it? You gotta go to bed soon.
um, this was powerful. This is a powerful story. And I am very proud of you for the work that you've done to reclaim your mother, um, and to heal yourself.
Thank you.
It's 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 incredible. It's incredible what you've done. And I really do believe that other people will learn from your experience and learn from the model that you've created, the Sankofa writing method, to go back and fetch it. I mean, go back, go get that joint, look at it, peel
Go
it
get that.
back, pull back the curtain,
Pull back the
peel back the
curtain.
layers. Did you say put it in the palm of your hand?
Put it in the palm of your hand, y'all.
Yeah.
Put it. Make it so small. Make it so small, and just look at it. Examine that thing. Um, and acknowledge the truth. Acknowledge it.
Hmm.
Like
And examining it, not to place blame, but to examine it to get understanding.
to understand it. Yes.
Yeah.
To be able to look at something without the emotional the emotional response is a behavior to a belief. That's all it is.
Hmm.
And once you have the truth is going to inform a new belief
Hmm.
that'll change the pattern. So a lot of people are operating on mistruths and misbeliefs. A lot of people are, reacting off of manipulated data. It's not true. And we have to create space for thinking about what was happening around. We have to think about the limitations of the people who inflicted harm on us. What was going on with them? We have to create space for that. We have to understand. We have to understand it. So, um, yeah, we have to. I talk about like locating things in its proper location. You have to, whatever the issue is, we have to center ourselves in our cultural context. We got to center ourselves in our historical context.
Hmm.
We can't act like we're not Black people oppressed. We can't act like we are not impacted by white supremacy. So we can't act like the Black family structure has not been impacted by the centuries of degradation and oppression in our lineage.
Hmm.
All of it's connected. These are not disconnected, these are connected. And so we have to really think about our histories. And they have those things inform how we look at our lives. Um, we just have to reach another level of consciousness in how we think. And
Girl, we're going to set so many people free. We're going to set so many people free. And again, there's so much here.
yeah.
I think about the men and women who are incarcerated.
Mm.
That's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. But
That's a whole nother look.
because there's so many of them in there who are living under those belief systems
Yeah.
that aren't necessarily real,
Hmm.
and who have made decisions based on that system,
Hmm.
and who will
Yeah.
continue to make decisions based on that system if they don't um, get understanding
Yeah.
and heal. And those
Yeah.
are the people we need to we need to reach so that um, um, just change their lives and reduce recidivism. We could talk. talk about that stuff another day, but powerful stuff, Yanni. Powerful stuff, Yanni.
Yeah, it's powerful and it's
Got
happening.
legs and arms. It's just like,
It's and this is a
it's
power
just,
of one story.
yeah.
My is one story, but just imagine how powerful. Oh my God. I'm like you said, it's going to be beautiful and we're starting. It's already happening. It's already happening. And I'm grateful for you. I'm so grateful for you, Zania, in the space. Even today we was like, let's just hop on and start talking. Let's just talk. Um it's almost been a year since this book was published,
Mm,
and I've I've removed from it a little bit. I'm removed from some of the things I share, but this was healing, talking about some of the other things, like just going back into our histories and our family and your perspective. So it's always healing for me to hear, um, and to alchemize, which is
mm,
what we're doing, our histories and what happened. And so thank you for always being that big sister, cousin. and and even in my healing space, just being open to listening and to taking in new things that I didn't know how to share before. Um, it's, I think that us doing this publicly is a model for other people and the types of conversations that people can feel inspired to have with their families. This is a part of it, just behind the scenes. This is the only thing that matters. I think that the more that we can normalize having these difficult conversations, um, the more we can heal,
hmm
greater our reach. So I love you so much, cousin.
I love you too.
And it's gonna be dope because I mean, it's gonna be fun because we're fun.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
We're creative
It's in the
and
genes. It's in the DNA.
it's in the DNA. So we gotta make talking about this stuff fun. This is our, how do we make this not feel so heavy? It is heavy,
It's
but
heavy. I mean, it is what it is. It's heavy.
it is what it is.
But
Yeah.
there's something on the other side of that. And that's where we got to be. That's where we got to get to is the other side of this.
Yes.
We can't waste
Yeah.
any more time. We talk about this all the time. How much time? How much time are you going to waste?
Hmm. Yeah.
That's why you got to get understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I'm
All
going to
right. We got
bed.
yeah, go to bed. This was great. This was great. Well, we shall return
Yeah.
with another.
Because we got some more to talk about.
We have a lot
I
to
got
talk
more
about.
questions.
I'm excited about your questions because you're asking great questions. And who else better to ask than you because you know everything. You
Don't
know
know
what's
everything, which is why I have questions. I don't.
right.
I don't. I don't know everything. So
Yeah.
is as long as you're comfortable with
Hmm.
talking about it, we're sick and tired of living in the shadows and the dark and keeping family secrets.
Yeah.
That shit ain't getting nobody nowhere.
Right. It's over. It's for
It's
that.
over. No.
It's over for that.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Time to heal black people.
Yeah. Time to heal black people.
Go to
Okay.
counseling. Go to therapy. Talk about it. Talk about it. Get it out.
Talk about your shit.
Talk about
Open
your
up that
shit
throat
so you ain't
chakra.
full
Get
of
it out.
shit.
Get it out. It doesn't belong to you.
Doesn't belong to you. Get it out. It's not your fault.
It's not your fault. You ain't know.
You ain't know.
You was
That's
you
why
was
you
just
got to get
born.
understanding so that you're empowered.
Yeah.
Stop blaming yourself and blaming other people.
Yes.
I mean,
It's your story.
it's coming from somewhere, but
Hmm. You got to own your story. Stop running from it. It's yours.
yeah,
Belongs to you.
and it's okay.
Yes.
It is
Okay.
okay.
We're gonna help you turn it into gold. For real.
Mm.
This was dope, Zania. Zania, I like this. I don't know what this is. This is it. This right here.
All right, you can stop the recording.